Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel. I sometimes when I sit down to film, you guys, I like press the button and then I say something and then I'm like, no. And then I stop and then I start. This is try number 3. We're gonna do this, but I'm actually really excited for this week's Self-Worth Saturday because we are going to be talking about body acceptance. Now, if you have been watching my channel for a bit, you know this is a topic I'm very, very passionate about. For those of you that don't know, I am a certified yoga teacher at the 500-hour level. I'm not currently teaching, but I have spent quite a bit of time developing yoga for larger bodies, coaching people on body positivity, body acceptance, developing a whole form of yoga that is designed for all bodies, and working with people both in large environments where I do public speaking to small environments where I do workshops and things like that to help people to determine their own worth, to recognize that yoga is for them regardless of their body shape and size, and to basically live my life as a very proud and confident woman of size. That is something that is just a huge part of my life. Talking about body acceptance and self-worth is like way up here with like my life's work. So yeah, I'm pretty passionate about this topic. And I was like, how am I gonna condense this into like a 25-minute video? I'm gonna do my best. But suffice to say that I have written, I've been working on my book and I have already written something like 8,000, no, that's not true, like 10,500-ish words in the past couple weeks, and all of those words so far are pretty much focused on this topic. So I have a lot to say because for a lot of us, body acceptance is a huge part of our self-worth journey. In fact, for a lot of us, the way we feel about our body is the biggest barrier to feeling worthy as a person. And for that reason, this is such a vast, vast topic that I can only really scratch the surface. So bring all of your questions and your thoughts to the live chat on the description, not on the description, the live chat that's either on the side or below or on your screen if you're watching this as this video premieres. But also bring that feedback, those questions, and those topics to the live chat, which we will have after this video first airs. Peggy will be with me and we will spend time talking about this stuff in more in depth. But with that, I want to jump into sort of the reason for this topic. So this came up because it was voted on as the next most wanted topic in my Self-Worth Saturday series, because this is something that all of us, I think, whether you're a boy, a girl, whatever, however you identify, whatever your body looks like, whether you're tall or short or large or small or chunky or slender, whatever your body shape and size and age and gender is, we all struggle with this. And there's a lot of reasons why that is, but let's just start with the basics. The reason why I'm calling this body acceptance and not love your body or body love is because it's one thing to get on sort of friendly terms with your body, and it's another thing entirely to completely love and accept your body for exactly how it is. And so there's a big, I just said love and accept. Hopefully you're going to be able to follow along with me because I'm going to probably tangent town a lot. But in general, there's quite a big gap to bridge between acceptance and love, or between even acceptance and like. A lot of us might be able to get to a place where we can have some form of acceptance with our body, but we may not ever get to a place where we like or even love our body. And I want you to know that that's okay. In fact, it's completely okay if you can't even accept your body. I just want to give you some things to consider and think about that might help you to build a better relationship with your body if that's something that you want in your life. So that is why I'm calling this, I talk about this in terms of body acceptance versus body love, because I just think it's more approachable. One of the things that I feel the most passionate about, whether we're talking about self-worth or we're talking about body acceptance in general, any of these kinds of related topics, always meet yourself where you are. You don't have to be where the person next to you is. You don't have to be where the person on the magazine cover is. You don't have to be where Oprah is or anybody else that you're listening to. Meet you right where you are in this moment, without expectations, without judgment. That is one of the biggest and sometimes the hardest part of this entire process. And the next thing I kind of want to point out about body acceptance is that body acceptance is a practice. Much like tarot or witchcraft or any of the other things you might be on my channel to learn about, These things are active practices. They are not boxes we can tick off or sort of things we get to complete. They are active and ongoing, and they require our participation. So if you're looking at body acceptance as, okay, how do I get there? Newsflash, there is no there. You don't get there. You just learn to have a conversation with your body and learn to get on speaking terms with it, and maybe even get a little friendly with it. That's the journey, and it's a journey you're continuing to make. I stopped dieting about, I guess now, so Peggy and I have been together for 13 years. About 11, we've been married for about 13 years, so probably about 11 years ago I stopped dieting. I just said dying. I stopped dieting about 11 years ago after like 20-ish years of serial dieting, and I stopped trying to lose weight. And about 8 to 10 years ago, somewhere in that range, I got rid of my bathroom scale, and I haven't weighed myself since. And that's going to shock and possibly horrify some people, but I have no idea what I currently weigh. Not a clue. I have, to be fair, a bit of a ballpark idea just based on where I was when I stopped dieting, because guess what? When I stopped dieting, I also stopped gaining weight, period. My weight has leveled, my size leveled. I sometimes fluctuate a little bit down or a little bit up, depending on how much salt I'm eating, or, you know, that sort of stuff. But for the most part, like, my body is like the same. In fact, since I stopped dieting, not only do I have a healthier relationship with food and a healthier relationship with my body, but I also have been wearing the same clothing size that entire time. Now, anyone who has been on a diet roller coaster could probably tell you that you lose weight, then you gain weight, and you usually gain a little more weight. And there's a whole lot of reasons why that is, which we just don't have the time to get into today in this very short video that I'm 7 minutes into already somehow. But I can tell you that when you're not doing that to your body's like, oh, this is where we're hanging out. Okay, that's cool. And then since then, I have stayed the same size, basically. And so I don't really care what my weight is. Yay! First thing, a little disclaimer. I said first thing, and we're 7.5 minutes in. This is going great. But I have a lot to say. So the first thing, disclaimer, I'm going to say is there is something called, we're going to call it concern trolling. And so I want to lay a little bit of ground rules for the comments and the discussion, even though we're well into it already. Yay for rules after the fact. So this is not a discussion about whether or not having a certain amount of weight is healthy or unhealthy. That is not what this is about. That conversation is not welcome here. Sorry, it's not. So if you make a comment about, but being overweight is unhealthy, or being underweight is unhealthy, or any of that kind of stuff, I'm probably just going to delete it, because that is not what this conversation is about. So please, let's talk about this from the perspective of our relationship with our body and how we view ourselves, and not from the perspective as health, because I'm going to just throw this out there. My health is my business. Your health is your business, and that's how it's going to be in this space, because all too often people that have larger bodies or smaller bodies get comments from people who I think really mean well, but who imply that they should be concerned about their health related to their body shape or size, and that's just not okay. Even when it's meant to be helpful, it's not. Most of us are very well aware of our shape and our size, and our health is our business, and we don't owe any of y'all our health. So if I choose to live an unhealthy lifestyle, that's on me. And the discussion about taxes and politics and services, not here, not here. So with that said, let's actually dive into the topic. I have notes. We'll see if they actually help to keep me on track. Also, I'll make sure my ringer is off. So that is a bit about my background. I found that when I'll give you a little bit more, because I can't stop myself. When I stopped dieting, I was scared. I was scared that I would have no self-control, my body would balloon, I would gain all this weight, because if I let myself eat whatever I want, whenever I want, surely I would be packing on the pounds. What I learned was that's not true at all. When I took away restriction from my lifestyle, when there was no longer things that were technically off limits, or things that I could only have on special occasions, or things I just would say no to out of guilt or shame about my body, when that stopped happening, miraculously, I developed a really healthy relationship with food. And I found out things that I never knew. Like, I actually like to have ice cream in very, very small quantities. Or like junk food. Most of the time, I like very small quantities. I learned how to stop eating when I was full. I learned to eat when I was hungry. I noticed when I craved fruits and vegetables. I noticed when I was dehydrated. All of these kinds of things can factor into how you relate to yourself and relate to your body. But for me personally, once I stepped off of that whole what I should be doing and started developing my own relationship with my body, everything got surprisingly easy. And newsflash, I also stopped thinking about food all the time because I wasn't obsessing about when I could eat next, when I had points to spend, when I had what special occasion I needed to plan around, when my cheat days were going to be. Like, none of that mattered anymore. It's like, oh, I can stop eating this hamburger now because I'm full, and if I want a hamburger later, I can have a damn hamburger later. So there's a whole big rabbit hole here to talk about, but I'm real off track of my notes. Let me just reel myself back in. So that's a little bit about, I guess that's the biggest part of this, is that I'm really passionate about this topic, and I really get passionate about kind of breaking the mold as far as stereotypes are concerned, and as far as health versus weight, and as far as body image and what's acceptable and what's beautiful and what's not. I love shaking that up. So let's talk about why it's so important to have a healthy relationship with your body, or an acceptance-based relationship with your body. If you know if you're tuned into your body because you're not afraid, let me back up. When we're at odds with our body, we have a tendency to avoid thinking about our body, looking at our body, touching our body, or even noticing our body because we feel uncomfortable about our body. If I'm self-conscious about my belly, for example, then I'm less likely to notice if I have, I don't know, a lump on my belly that shouldn't be there. And this seems really trite, but it's not, because when we think about things like, for women, breast self-examinations, or for men, paying attention to what's happening in their body, I'm not a boy, I don't know what you're supposed to look for, but I know that there's things you're supposed to be looking for. The thing is, if we're feeling at odds with our body, if we're uncomfortable about our body, we're not noticing. And we're not necessarily even noticing when we're getting pain signals, when things are off, when they're not right. There's a whole lot of reasons why having a working relationship with your body based on acceptance and sort of mutual respect is a really good idea. And the underpinning of all of this is that if you feel self-conscious about your body, you're going to move through the world very, very differently. I wore only black and earth tones for decades. And when I finally got comfortable in my own skin and realized I was okay with my body as it was, I started wearing color. I have so many fun, colorful leggings now that you would have not caught me dead in 20 years ago, because I would have been like, no, black is slimming. I'm gonna wear black. Horizontal stripes are not supposed to be flattering for larger bodies, but I wear that shit because I think it's cute. And I think this kind of stuff is really, really important, because the way that I am able to look the world in the face today is completely different than how I was when I hated my body, because I spent a long time hating my body. And I'll also tell you that while I was on that diet roller coaster, at my lowest weight, which isn't much below where I'm at now, I had lost about 75 pounds. So I haven't, since throwing away my scale, even regained to my highest weight I ever was. But what was interesting to me is when I reached my lowest weight, I actually hated my body more. I was thrilled I could fit different sizing, but I didn't necessarily, like, losing weight doesn't suddenly make you love your body. It's kind of funny, because actually for me, my body acceptance journey was the hardest at my lowest weight, because there were things that were different about my body that didn't feel quite right. Something was a little bit off. And when I kind of leveled out to where I'm at now, that's where I found my comfort zone, and that's where my body started to feel like me. And there's a whole, wow, I cannot focus for this video. Welcome to the ride. I'm gonna look at my notes again because I'm sidetracking like whoa. Okay, let's get down to some details. There are 5 major components to body acceptance, if you ask me, and since this is my video, I'm going to talk about my 5. So here's the components that I think are important to a body acceptance journey. These are my thoughts and feelings. This is the stuff I'm putting in, like the book I'm writing. This is very much my opinion, so there's going to be other views out there, but these are the things I think are important. Number 1, approaching your body with curiosity instead of fear, and looking at your body for its function over its form. One of the things that yoga taught me, which was why it was such a transformative experience for me, was about how to feel my body do what it's good at. Yoga taught me to pay attention to what breathing felt like when I was breathing deeply and fully and properly. Yoga taught me what a stretch felt like when my muscles were kind of like luxuriously lengthening. And it taught me what strength and balance felt like, and poise, what alignment felt like. And all of these things gave me a way to feel my body from the inside out and appreciate what it could do without worrying about what it could look like. Now, it helped that I started practicing yoga without mirrors, which is something that I highly recommend if you are going to jump into yoga, especially if you want to jump into yoga as a way to find more body acceptance. Don't practice the mirror. Mirrors are disillusioning, and they don't help you to actually feel what's happening in your body, in my opinion. Especially because what feels aligned from the inside may not look right from the outside if you're looking for aesthetics. For example, in a yoga pose called Warrior 2, a lot of us know this pose because it's the shoulders out, gaze over, one knee bent. It's a classic like yoga magazine cover pose. In that pose, we're often taught as teachers to instruct the pose so that the thigh is parallel to the ground when you're in that lunge in one leg. I don't know, I'm talking yoga. Hopefully this makes sense to somebody. But in my body, because of the shape of my thighs, when my thigh bone is more level, you still see a pretty defined slope of flesh above. So my thigh doesn't look parallel to the ground. But if I were to sink until my flesh were parallel to the ground, that would be a misalignment in my body. And so through learning yoga and then learning to teach yoga and then learning to teach teachers how to teach yoga, I was able to dig into the sort of anatomy of the body and geek out on it, and that really, really helped me. But where you are in your personal life, you may not want to get into like anatomy, which is totally fine, but I do invite you to be curious about your body, to drop the what does it look like and start to notice what does it feel like. Start to notice what it feels like when you're sitting up tall and you have good posture, or start to notice what it feels like to take deep breaths, or start to notice what it feels like to take a walk and actually pay attention to the muscles working in your legs, your thighs, to move your arms and notice what that feels like. When you're approaching your body from the position of thinking about its function, it's actually really fascinating. And maybe my geek is going to show here, but when you think about how your body is designed to break down food into nutrients and waste, when you think, I know that doesn't sound glamorous, you guys, but just stay with it. When you think about the complexity of the systems in the body, did you know, for example, that fat is an organ of the body? It is considered an organ now. This is newer information as part of the endocrine system, because it endocrine. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but I do a lot of reading. But it does actually produce hormones that help to manage appetite and things like that. There are things that the body fat is designed to do. Everything on your body exists for a reason. It may not be a reason you like, but it exists for a reason, and it is fascinating when you think about everything has a purpose, and that your body, exactly as it is the way that it is for a purpose, even the stuff that you don't love. So when you think about, for example, I'm going to use Peggy because she's going to be in the chat room and she won't mind. I'll use her as an example. Peggy was born with a birth defect in her knee. Her kneecap actually tracks incorrectly. It tracks to one side. And she was told that she would, I'm going to get the details wrong. She was told she was going to be needing knee replacements by a certain year. She was told she was going to be in a wheelchair by a certain year or a certain age. And she's fine now. But a big reason why, and I say fine in the sense that she's still mobile and she still walks. She needs a cane occasionally for support. But the reason that she's doing as well as she is because she learned from a young age how to listen to her body, how to notice when her knee is like, nope, enough of this, you need to rest. Or when her body was like, nope, too much stillness, you need to move. And she learned how to listen and pay attention, which is one of the reasons her leg works as well as it does today. But when I say that everything functions for a reason, what I mean is that when her knee is achy, it's telling her something, and she knows to listen. If her knee is, or her leg is feeling restless, she knows she needs to move. And I'm just using that as an example. Other things that come up. I did something funky to my shoulder. Actually, I think it was in a yoga pose. And I okay, I feel this out, and I know what ranges of movement I need to be mindful of, but I also know what things I need to do even when it's a little sore to make sure that things stay mobile and that I have good range of motion while this very minor thing kind of heals. I cannot stress enough. Oh my God, I'm 20 minutes in. How did this happen? If we run over, we're probably going to run over on this topic, we'll have a 5-minute beverage break and then jump into the live chat. So just so you know. Function over form. This is the point. Our bodies do amazing, magical things. They help us to stand, or they help us to move things with our arms. And whether you have things with your body that frustrate you, that are limitations, that you feel are limitations, whether they are related to your body shape or size, whether they're related to your appearance only, or whether they're related to the way that your body functions, your body is remarkably able to adapt. But you need to listen. And if we don't have that good relationship with our body, we're not going to listen, and then we do more damage. So that was a whole soapbox I didn't intend. Okay, part number 2. So part number 1 was being able to approach your body with curiosity. Be curious about how it moves, how it functions. It will change the way you look at your body when you see it for the magical machine that it really is. Number 2, mindful approach to eating. Holy crap. I could talk about this topic, you guys. Okay, so a mindful approach to eating. In a nutshell, if you eat when you're hungry, stop eating when you're full. And I mean eat when you're hungry. That means if it's past dinner and you have those mental things that say, well, I can't eat past 8 or I'll get fat or whatever, fucking eat when you're hungry. If you eat when you're hungry, if you stop when you're full, and if you let yourself enjoy what you're eating and drinking, things change so dramatically. It's unreal. There's a whole lot to this topic and a whole lot of ways to practice mindful eating, including noticing how hungry you are, how full you are, starting to notice when you're comfortably full versus over full. There's all of these ways that you can actually learn to have a healthy relationship with food if you bring in that component of mindfulness. And in a nutshell, mindfulness is really just being present in the current moment. So if you're eating, being present enough to notice when you feel full, which means those of us that eat in front of TV and in front of computer, and I still fall into this trap today. Sometimes we need to take a moment, remember that we're eating, notice ourselves eating, and have that experience. And hell, if you're gonna have chocolate or candy or ice cream or junk food, at the very least, let yourself enjoy it, right? I let myself have that stuff all the time. I don't restrict myself from anything that I want to eat. But I do my best, particularly if I'm having something particularly decadent, to let myself really enjoy it. And then it's satisfying on a whole lot of levels, not just on a how much food is in your belly level, but on a letting yourself enjoy the tastes, the smells, the textures, the experience. And when you do that, you will have a completely different relationship with food and with eating. And also there's a piece here about when nothing is off the table, that scarcity doesn't come up, which means you don't feel the need to binge on things. At least I don't. I don't feel the need to binge on things when I have them because I know I can just have more later. I've used the burger example earlier, but it's the same thing with ice cream. In fact, I regularly, if I get a small little what do you call those? Ben & Jerry's or what's the Haagen-Dazs? It's one of my favorite ones. You get a small one of Haagen-Dazs, sometimes I'll start it and I'll put it back in the freezer and I'll forget and I'll freezer burn because I know I can just always have it whenever I want. So there's no rush. And it's just kind of this really cool thing that I think is still amazing because I spent so many years feeling like if I had something decadent or naughty or high calorie that I had to just scarf it down and make it gone because I had this contentious relationship. And I was like, I don't know when I'm going to ever let myself have ice cream again, so I better just enjoy the crap out of this while I have it. But I wasn't enjoying it. I was just binging on it. So I don't do that anymore. The other part about body acceptance that's really, really important is pleasurable movement. Most of us were brought up in an environment where we felt like we should exercise to lose weight or to be stronger or healthier or more fit or whatever, but not all of us were raised in environments where we were encouraged to just be active because it was fun and rewarding all on its own. Now, if you were always a fairly a slender person or somebody who was fairly athletic, you probably didn't have this experience. But if you had any extra weight on you, chances are well-meaning family or friends were constantly suggesting some new activity, and there was always this implication that you should be doing it to lose weight. I had a real struggle when I was learning about movement and trying to figure out what things resonated. I felt like guilty if I did an activity that wasn't likely to help me lose weight. It was almost like, well, I can't do that. That's not going to be effective, so I should do something else. So yoga was actually a really, really major guilty pleasure for me for like 10 years. In fact, I didn't tell anybody I did yoga that whole time because I was embarrassed that people would think it was a dumb thing to spend my time on because I wasn't going to lose weight stretching and like doing yoga. I mean, reality is you technically can lose weight doing yoga if you really want to, but my practice was about being in my body. It wasn't about sweating and being in a hot room or another rabbit hole I'm going to stay out of. I'm going to corral myself. But pleasurable movement, if you can find something you enjoy doing that's active, do that thing. It doesn't have to be something you're supposed to do. It could be that you really just love walking with your dogs. It could be, I say that because I just walked my dogs. It could be, for me, one of the first things I ever found that felt like exercise and also fun was Dance Dance Revolution. Do y'all remember that? It was a game. I think it was a Nintendo game. I first started playing it in arcades. It was the thing where there's like this big metal platform with arrows, and then there's like a big screen and it's music, and the arrows tell you where you're supposed to put your feet, and so it's supposed to be dancing. Holy crap, I got so addicted to that, but that is a story for another day because it's 26 minutes. I'm fine, not feeling any pressure, no. Anyway, pleasurable movement, really important. If you can find something to do that lets you be in your body and enjoy the movement of your body, that can just work wonders towards your relationship with it. Number 4, healthy habits versus measurable outcomes. So healthy habits are the things you do that are great for your health. Measurable outcomes are numbers on a scale, numbers on a measuring tape, numbers on the label of your clothing. Those are measurable outcomes, but there's a lot of things that we do that are great for us whether or not anything changes about our external appearance. Drinking lots of water is one. Being active is another. Eating lots of fruits and vegetables. Not smoking. Drinking in moderation. There's lots of things that are great for your health regardless of your weight. And in fact, there's a bird across in my window and it's real cute. Okay, it left. I can talk again. Okay. There was actually a study done that measured people in various weight categories according to their BMI, which, by the way, your BMI has nothing to do with your health. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. This stuff is all on my mind because these are the chapters I've been working on in my book. But yeah, just no. No with the BMI, okay? But anyways, the BMI, which is your body mass index, literally is just the ratio between height and weight. That's all it is. Anyway, people in various categories were studied according to 4 healthy habits. That is, not smoking, drinking in moderation, having, I think, 4 to 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, and exercising daily, like some kind of active, moderate activity every day. And among all of the weight categories, the health benefits were all equal, regardless of weight, which meant that things like improved blood cholesterol and all of these kinds of internal measures of health were all improved among every single weight class, with the biggest difference in health results were in the categories like leaning into the larger bodied, had the greatest difference. Because what happens, I think, for a lot of people who fall into larger weight categories, because of course that's my personal perspective, is that if we're not actively dieting, if we're not actively working to lose weight, there's a bit of a why bother attitude that we can end up kind of falling into. And yet the reality is that if we didn't worry about what we weighed and we just worried about living more healthy, active lifestyles in general, that we would have all of the same benefits as a thin person regardless. And one of the things that has also been blatantly discovered recently is that you can be very slender and have very poor health and be very large and have excellent health. And we're still trying to understand all of those things. So that is one of the reasons why health is not a part of how we get to judge each other. Like, oh, you should lose weight because you'll be healthier. Because that's not how that actually works. And there's science. So yeah. Also, just fair warning, because there's so many things I'm throwing out in this video, I welcome discussion in the comments of this video. I absolutely do, but not the prove your point kind of stuff, because Google is there and I trust you guys to use it. Because that can get exhausting, and I just kind of want to throw out there that there's so much you can look up and research, and obviously in my book I'll have resources and references and a bibliography and all of that good stuff, but for now definitely feel free to look up any of these topics that are catching your attention. So that was for healthy habits and measurable outcomes. Number 5 is society's role. We're probably going to talk about this a ton in the live chat because I'm so already over my time limit here. And so that is it. So basically the 5 components of body acceptance, just to quickly recap: approach your body with curiosity, notice function over form. Number 2, a mindful approach to eating. Number 3 is pleasurable movement. Number 4 is healthy habits versus measurable outcomes. And number 5 is society's role. And society's role in a nutshell is filter out the bullshit messages you get every day about what your body's supposed to look like, because that shit is subjective and it changes all the time. What is cute and beautiful today by society standards is completely different than what was cute and beautiful 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and so on. Things change, and they change rapidly. I'm using 100 years, but really our beauty standards can change every 10 to 20 years. Even things as simple as, this is my favorite example right now, but even things as simple as like butt size. I'm just saying that little skinny butts used to be really the thing, and currently like those like juicy bubble butts are the thing, and like it's constantly a battle of the trends. So that shit is subjective, and filter out that stuff, because at the end of the day beauty is completely subjective. I just said subjective a lot in that sentence, but I hope you guys get the point. Let's get into a couple journal prompts if you are into the journal side of this series. So journal prompt number 1. Think of one of those 5 areas that I just named: open-minded approach to body, mindful eating, pleasurable movement, healthy habits, or making your own rules up about, like, you know, not following society's rules. Think of which of those is the one you maybe struggle with the most, and kind of do some writing about that. Where you think that comes from, what you could maybe do about that. And number 2, how can you practice more kindness with regards to how you think about, speak about, and treat your body? Number 3, what tangible action can you take to cultivate a deeper appreciation for your body? And this week's challenge is to do one of these 3 things this week. Either look yourself in the mirror and say something nice to yourself as often as possible this week. Maybe once a day is a great goal. Or 2, mindful eating for the week. Let yourself enjoy your food, notice when you're eating, that kind of thing. Or number 3, move joyfully and find something fun and active to do that just feels good, and do that. Let's have an oracle card. This is the Self-Love Oracle by Janet Chui. This is one of my favorites for self-love boost. We're going to give this a shuffle. I was supposed to shuffle while I was giving you your challenge, but I'm all discombobulated because I ran over my time. I like my rituals and my structure, y'all. And you guys know too, at the end of the day, this is such a personal journey. I would love it if everybody loved their body, because that's my personal mission in life. But that doesn't mean that you're going to, or that that's an easy path for you, or that it's even right for you at this time. So just remember that. I think my video just spliced me, so hopefully it's not a mess. We're going to pull a card. Whoa! Or we're going to throw some cards. That's what I do on my channel. And today's message is: remember your spark. You are here for a purpose. Remember it or define it for yourself. Remember your spark. I love that. That is perfect. I don't have anything to add. That's beautiful. So with that, I'm going to close this out, and I will see you all hopefully in the live chat. And if not, definitely leave your questions, your comments about body acceptance. Maybe share some of your experiences in the comments down below after this video is done airing for the first time, or in the chat box if you're still chatting, obviously. And with that, I'm going to sign off, and I will see you very, very soon. Remember to say to yourself as often as possible, I am worthy and I am unafraid. Bye.